Yeah, so I had quit my corporate job. I was a vice president on Madison Avenue, and I just had quit my job and was cruising around with a backpack and climbing in Europe. And I think I had, at the time I was planning on staying actually in Spain. I had some work papers lined up, and I was
you had that job.
I had a job in Barcelona,
Right.
and I was totally like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and maybe I'll stay in Europe for the rest of my life, because I really had reached a clean break kind of with my life in New York and the States. Just at that moment, I got an email from Kate, and then a follow-up phone call, and we talked about it, and then she was like, okay, well, you've got a week to decide if you're going to be the subject in the yoga documentary. And so I did. I sort of kept traveling around and thinking about it, and talking to a couple people, and gathering counsel about it, and really thinking about it. But ultimately, I think it was a foregone conclusion that I was going to accept her invitation, because how could you not really take that kind of opportunity? So,
had you done yoga prior to that?
I had done a couple of classes, but really not much.
Nothing that was kind of high on your list of something to try.
It was something that I knew was good for you. In the back of my mind, I knew it was one of these things that I should be doing.
Right.
But like many people, I was just sort of curious about it more than at all knowledgeable or practiced. Yeah.
Are you skeptical by nature? Is that sort of your... I mean, one of the things that was, it sort of kind of was sort of the, in the movie, you could just sense that, you won't just accept things for what they might be or what people are telling you. You gotta just sort of experience it and prove it for yourself. Is that just part of your...
Yeah, I think I'm probably generally a skeptic. Part of the challenge with making this movie is that I also had to challenge that skepticism a little bit, and I started to realize that that I was the kind of absolutist or fundamentalist that I was criticizing many people being, in a spiritual sense, people who, took literal readings of the Bible or took, spiritual concepts very seriously. I was very sort of skeptical about all that stuff, but I also had to challenge my own fundamentalism of being, totally closed off to all those ideas. And I mean, I think I managed to get in some kind of headspace, actually, where I could plausibly hope that something crazy was going to happen to us. Because I thought, well, maybe, there is this, this is like some ancient Indian technology that we've lost, and it is going to, unleash some cosmic forces. And, looking back, it's interesting. I kind of can't believe that I got to that level of sort of open-mindedness. It's probably more open-minded than I am today, because I was really trying to put myself in that place for this
there was
project.
that period of time where you were really into the meditation, that you were really thinking that there was something about yoga that we didn't even know today that was like brain and mind practices that you kept kind
I
of
was
digging
influenced
for a while.
by, my uncle does transcendental meditation, and
Okay.
he swears by it, so I was like, oh, there's something there. It's something,
And there's...
and clearly it changes a lot of people's lives. I was just reading this book called Do You Believe, in which they interview all these luminaries about their spiritual beliefs. And David Lynch, who'd have thunk it, he's like a big TM guy.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
There...
so anyway, I had also been exposed to the sort of 60s, 70s milieu of, the American hippie folk embracing Eastern spirituality, and I had grown up in a community that was full of those people. Actually, in northern India, in the middle of nowhere, it all came around. We were running into people that knew my family and my friends.
That's amazing.
Because of that whole, there was this period in the early 70s when several American emissaries kind of came back, like the Beatles, came back and made this a phenomenon. And the community that I grew up in Western Massachusetts was very strong into this kind of thing. And so that had made me actually skeptical. I think me and my friends my age had kind of seen these gurus come and go, and we weren't, particularly impressed. And yet, I guess, there's another part of me that exposed me enough that I was like, well, smart people that I respect are into this, so
there must be something.
How crazy could it be?
Yeah. So, just talking about India for a moment, yesterday night you said that northern India was kind of this crazy place, and that really, I think I wasn't sure if it impacted you or you were sort of mesmerized by what was that experience?
I look at it, I guess, I don't know about you, I look at it as just an adventure, and that's really what I'm into, is like exploring new places, running around, finding out, and that, I mean, it is pretty incredible. I don't know how many people realize that there are these, spiritual zones, these meccas in India, where you can go to a town and like half the population are, sort of full-fledged, spiritual seekers who have renounced everything and just walk around with a little, stick and a pouch on their back and smoke a lot of bhang and sing love songs to God. And you'd have these like people that are like, just totally doing that, but like everywhere along the banks of the Yamuna River, and that was amazing to me.
That was Vrindavan?
That was Vrindavan, yeah. So the sort of the Krishna,
the Krishna followers, right.
Yeah, and I mean, just having a town full of sadhus who are,
right.
Yeah, that was just amazing.
Is that the only place you went, or did you go to Rishikesh?
We didn't go to Rishikesh while we were filming, unfortunately. We didn't go to Rishikesh.
We had a debate about that, actually, while it was.
Yeah.
We were sort of really deciding that on the fly.
And did
it was getting to be winter at that time. I think Rishikesh was probably
it would be really
pretty
cold.
cold.
We also kind of felt Rishikesh might have feel similar to Mysore in a different way, that there'd be a big influx of Westerners, and we were interested in the possibility of going somewhere that felt a little bit more off the beaten path.
Right.
And I think
and
the
authentically
idea,
Indian.
authentically Indian, because we had seen the yoga we discovered in India had been so influenced in a way by the Westerners' interests. And for me, it was
West.
Right.
Well,
Right.
Iyengars had.
Iyengars have a certain segment.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the class that you were in probably had more Indians.
There were many Indians. I remember. I should
many Indian
myself.
males, actually, which is very interesting because out here, if you go to a yoga class, the percentage of men is much smaller. At least my experience.
But tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, in India, it's not really even appropriate among, the sort of serious yoga practitioners for women to practice.
Women practice, but it's a lot of the older women. You don't see young women doing yoga. You see a lot of young men doing yoga, but not, it's very weird.
But if you're like a Brahmin, right, and you're like teaching yoga, like would you even, I mean, are there people out there who probably would be like loath to even teach it to women or Westerners?
That's an old myth. That's an old sort of. I mean, if you look at Patabi Joyce and Mr. Iyengar, they're both Brahmins.
Yeah.
And they teach, and actually.
But they're kind of revolutionary.
They're very revolutionary. Yeah. But I think it's changing. I think that whole concept of class-based teaching is sort of. I think it's dissipating.
Yeah.
So, like Mr. Iyengar's cleaner, who is considered a, of that low caste, because she cleans their, the whole yoga center. She goes into the yoga classes.
Right.
She takes classes. So it's a very interesting, dichotomy, so to speak.